Ambassador Kethavar of the Zephyrian Collective couldn't suppress his mandibles from clicking in amusement as he reviewed the human fleet specifications on his holographic display. Around the vast circular chamber of the Galactic Senate, similar sounds of derision echoed from the assembled delegates of 47 civilizations. 23 vessels, Kethavar announced, his voice carrying the natural authority of a species that had conquered 12 star systems before humanity had even discovered fire. Their largest ship measures a mere 800 meters. No energy. Shields, no quantum torpedoes, no antimatter cores. He paused for dramatic effect. They claim to be ready for membership in our galactic alliance. High Chancellor Vorix of the Hegemony leaned forward from his crystalline throne, his 6 eyes gleaming with predatory interest. Perhaps we should demonstrate why the alliance has maintained peace for 3 millennia. A simple fleet engagement, their ships against our standard patrol squadron. The human ambassador, a woman named Sarah Chen, stood calmly despite being surrounded by beings who could crush her with their bare appendages. We accept your challenge, Chancellor. However, we propose different terms, one of our ships against one of yours. The chamber erupted in what could only be described as galactic laughter. Species that communicated through bioluminescence flickered in patterns of mirth. The gas-based ethereals created harmonic frequencies that resonated with amusement. One ship? Kethavar's translator struggled to convey his incredulity. Our destroyers are 3 kilometers long. Our cruisers dwarf your entire fleet. Nevertheless, Chen replied, her voice steady. One ship. Winner takes all. 3 days later, the designated combat zone buzzed with activity. Hundreds of vessels from across the galaxy had arrived to witness what many were already calling the Great Human Folly. Betting pools had opened on every civilized world, with odds running 50,000 to 1 against humanity. The Zephyrian destroyer World Render took position at the combat zone's edge. Captain Vexhal, veteran of the Andromedan Wars, commanded from his bridge with the casual confidence of someone who had never known defeat. His ship bristled with weapons that could shatter moons, powered by a core that burned hotter than most stars. Across the void, the human vessel appeared. At first, many observers thought it was a sensor glitch. The ship was small, barely 300 meters long, and appeared to be constructed from primitive metals and composites. No energy signatures beyond basic life support. No visible weapon systems. What is that thing? Demanded Admiral Throg, of the Titan Empire, whose own dreadnoughts had glassed entire worlds. The human ship bore a simple designation painted on its hull, UES Indomitable. Begin combat, Chancellor Vorix announced across all frequencies. Captain Vexhal didn't even consider it a fair fight. His primary weapons could vaporize the human craft before they even knew they were under attack. He gave the order to fire. 37 plasma cannons erupted simultaneously, each blast carrying enough energy to level a city. The beams converged on the Indomitable's position, creating a brief star in the darkness of space. When the energy dissipated, the human ship remained. Not just intact, completely undamaged. Impossible, Vexhal whispered. His sensors showed no energy shields, no deflector arrays. The ship shouldn't exist anymore. Then the Indomitable moved. It didn't accelerate with the smooth curve of conventional propulsion. It simply went from stationary to impossible velocity in an instant, defying every known law of physics. The ship became a blur, weaving between the World Render's weapons, fire like it was standing still. What's their acceleration reading? Kethavar demanded from his observation vessel. 12,000 Gs, came the stunned reply. That should have turned their crew into paste. The Indomitable closed the distance in seconds. As it approached, the massive Zephyrian destroyer, something extraordinary happened. The human ship began to change. Sections of hull that had appeared solid reconfigured themselves. What observers had mistaken for primitive metal plating revealed itself to be something far more advanced. Programmable matter that flowed like liquid mercury, but held forms stronger than diamond. Weapon ports opened along the Indomitable's hull, but these weren't conventional armaments. They fired projectiles, simple solid chunks of metal at relativistic speeds, kinetic weapons that the galaxy had abandoned millennia ago as primitive. Except these weren't primitive. The first projectile struck the World Render's quantum-reinforced hull at 90% light speed. The impact didn't just penetrate the armor. It passed through the 3-kilometer ship like it was made of paper, the relativistic mass turning matter into plasma in its wake. The destroyer, pride of the Zephyrian fleet, came apart in a chain reaction of secondary explosions. Silence fell across the combat zone. Ambassador Chen's voice cut through the stunned quiet. Humanity has spent the last 50 years studying every galactic species. Your technologies, your tactics, your weaknesses. We learned that you've become complacent, dependent on energy weapons and shields, forgetting the devastating simplicity of kinetic force. She paused, letting her words sink in across 100 species. You assumed primitive meant inferior. You forgot that sometimes the oldest solutions are the best solutions. Mass times velocity squared is still the most efficient way to destroy something. On the observation deck of the Hegemony flagship, High Chancellor Vorik studied the tactical display with new eyes. Their acceleration. How do they survive those forces? Inertial dampening field, Chen explained calmly. We solved it differently than you did. While you focused on energy manipulation, we focused on physics manipulation. Our ships don't just resist acceleration. They rewrite local space-time to make acceleration irrelevant. The Indomitable hung motionless in space. Its hull shimmering as programmable matter continued to reconfigure itself. What had appeared to be a single ship was revealing modular components that could separate, combine, or completely restructure based on tactical requirements. How many of these ships do you have? Admiral Throg asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Chen smiled. A very human expression that somehow translated perfectly to every species watching. Every human vessel has this capability. We don't build different classes of ships. We build platforms that become whatever the situation requires. Across the galaxy, the balance of power shifted in a single moment. The species that had mocked humanity's small fleet began to understand a terrifying truth. Size meant nothing when faced with absolute technological superiority. The Galactic Senate voted unanimously to offer humanity full membership. But as the human fleet jumped away, leaving behind only the debris of Zephyrian pride, one question haunted every military commander in known space. If this was just one ship operating at minimum capability, what would humanity look like when it decided to stop holding back? The universe was about to find out that the most dangerous predators were often the ones that looked the most harmless.